So I'll live this as good morning, good afternoon, good evening. We truly are global, as Taylor said, which is what is really one of the blessings of the virtual world. I have taken on the mantra that nothing is all bad or all good. And I'm going to say that about, I've found it applies to everything. And so it can apply even to the situation of having to work virtually, because at least this gives us an opportunity to have some members with us that we may not have been able to have if everyone had to travel, particularly long distances. So really grateful that we have everybody here today. I hope that all of you, first of all, a little detailed reminder, if you're not speaking, please mute, since we're going to have a very large number of people on here. And we'll try and remind you to unmute if we see your mouth moving and nothing's happening out the audio. I hope you all received your gift from, or many gifts from Utah. Some of you have the opportunity to be there today. We don't all, so you should have gotten a big red box. I have my chocolate behind me. I told Taylor I'm going to resist breaking it out, but I figure no better time than the meeting, so I'm going to perhaps be munching. If you didn't get your gift, then you'll have to check with Chris. But I hope you all enjoy a little taste of Utah, since we aren't all able to be there now. And for those of you who get to the double blessing of being there, lucky for you. So what you might have just seen scrolling there, I hope, is a thank you to our outgoing members. We have Marilyn Spiegel, Thane Carlston, Gracie Familia, and Scott Blackley, who are all departing the board. Thanks to them for their service. We know that we've had many members, particularly who have just departed recently or might be departing, who've gone above and beyond the 3-year term, or a couple of 3-year terms, or many 3-year terms, sometimes more, well beyond what we ever asked them to do. And so we really appreciate that commitment. We also have, let me go through the agenda a little bit here. You got this in advance, but I'll be turning it over to Taylor for an update on the school. I think you'll find it impressive if you didn't get a chance to review it yet, what's been happening. And then we're going to spend a reasonable amount of time talking about the Master of Business Creation program directly with students. For those who were on the board and had the chance to be at our meeting in 2019, where they came and gave their speed pitches, I think it might have been one of my most enjoyable meetings, just because it was so great to hear from the students and see the impact that the program is making on them and that they are making on the world. So we're actually going to have them in our breakouts. And I look forward to everyone being able to give them some good feedback and also learn from them about what we can do to even take the program further. And then after a break, we're going to talk about a little bit more in that category, but also then talk about the master's program growth. So Taylor's going to facilitate that for us. And that will be our morning, hoping everyone can hang in there for the full 2 hours. We have a couple of new members, David Cumming, who is joining us. He is an Eccles alum of the MBA program. We appreciate that. He's the co-owner of OR Inc. You can see this here. I don't know, because now my screen's gotten small. I always put it in speaker mode when I'm speaking. If David's on, if you are, David, speak up so the rest of us will see you.
I am. I'm here. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Thank you. Welcome. And we have Kathy Garf.
I'm here.
I saw you earlier, Kathy. Hello.
Thank you. Thank you. It's nice to be here.
We're delighted to have both of you joining us. I think there's great continuity in the ongoing contributions you have and will make to us. And so I'm really glad to have that perspective. As you can see, we've been doing some replenishment of our board. I think one of the great opportunities for us is to both have the input of new members, but also give new members the opportunity to see what's happening. You know, their Eccles Business School is not what their grandfathers was, or even their fathers, or even their own. And so that's what we're hoping to accomplish with this ongoing replenishment. So we appreciate those who continue to serve. We don't want the board to get too big, so we're trying to keep that balance. With that in mind, one of the things that I'm going to be leading is a membership committee to recruit and review some possible new members, trying to add diversity in all ways to our board. and go beyond just the networks that any one of us might know. Taylor's is extensive, so we get some from him, but we would clearly be anxious to have any of you who are willing to serve on the membership committee. You can put it in the chat and Chris or Teresa will pick it up. If you know how to do that, just chat me up there or me directly, or email me at ann.taylor.1, it's missing a dot there, at outlook.com. Let any of us know, we'll get you there. And then lastly, I'm hopeful that we will be all back on campus for our fall meeting. There's a blessing to being virtual, but there's also a blessing to being in person. And hopefully that will be when we can see the Utes win a major football game. So it's October 15th. Please mark that on your calendar. And with that, Taylor, I will turn the time over to you.
Thank you. I posted this in the chat, but I'd love it'd be very easy for me to see your questions as we go through this. So feel free to interrupt, and I'll try to work those in. This new format we're sort of used to, but certainly as a board, we haven't used it a lot. So I'd encourage you to just ask questions in the chat or make comments. I've got that up and I can see that to the side here. We are at a remarkable time in the history of our school. 2 years ago, fall of 2018, we started a pretty aggressive strategic plan. And today we're going to celebrate some of those big wins we've had over the last 2 years. But it's also time for a bit of reset, because I think there's some areas where we can certainly improve in some very, very serious ways. So I just want to spend some time as part of my update kind of talking about this reset. Our goal was to be a top 25 business school. And we thought our first hurdle would be to be a top 25 public business school. These are our current rankings. And as you can see, we have rankings on the left and public school rankings on the right. And if you look at most of the major rankings now, we are top 15 among publics. So it's kind of time to declare victory there and move on to kind of the next goal. And the next goal is to just be simply a top 25 school, top to bottom. You'll notice that I have accentuated the undergraduate and MBA rankings, because in our strategic plan, we called them out. And the reason we called them out is that there's no single, as you can tell, no single ranking of a business school. But at the time we set this plan, these were the two most important rankings that we thought we had to move. And as you can see, we still need to get to top 25 in those two areas. And what I'm going to say now is it's going to take some significant investment. These were the elements of our plan, and I'm not going to belabor all of these aspects, but I just want to highlight a few, I think, big wins here. When we talked about value creation for students, corporations, and community, we really looked at three metrics. Value gets created for students when we can offer more scholarships. Value gets added to students when we decrease their time to completion. Value gets added to students and community and corporations when we place students in great jobs. And we have seen significant progress on that front. Even in this pandemic, we had 90% job placement for the first time in many years. Well, we had 2 straight placements at Bain Consulting. This has been an objective of ours, and I want to thank Steve Kane for helping us with that. Thank you very, very much. But across the board, we've had help from you members of the board, kind of both recruiting students and also placing students. And I don't know if Clay Shumway's on. Clay would like to say thanks for the students you've been sending our way. Paul Beck, as you know, has been a very consistent recruiter, has Greg Kennedy, and we've diversified nationally because of a lot of these individuals that have been willing to reach out into their communities. So we're creating value in huge ways there. So then I want to really just basically talk about what we meant by we need premier experiences that differentiate our product. As I mentioned, we wanted to focus on the undergraduate program, the day MBA, because we think those lift our brand more than others. But the third thing we wanted to do is we have got some remarkable centers and institutes at the school. You know many of them, right? We know the Goff Strategic Leadership Center. We know the Lassonde Entrepreneur Institute, the Sorensen Impact Center. And I could go on. I'll talk about each of these centers in a moment, but they create extraordinarily differentiating experiences for each of our students. And we have discovered a lot about the power of these centers and institutes. If you look at students that get actively involved in centers and institutes, their job placement, both in terms of salary, prestige, percentage placed, accelerates dramatically. And this speaks to our core brand that we are doers and we are entrepreneurial in nature. And this learning by doing has really created some pretty serious differentiation for us. So I'm going to revisit in just a moment where we've come with our focus on undergraduate, day MBA, and the achievement or the differentiation via centers. And then finally, our last topic of the day is really to talk about growth, because we're in a very different position today than we were even 2 years ago. And we can now be, I would say, very different and more purposeful in the way that we grow. So I'm going to stop for a second and ask if there are any questions about this plan. And then I'm going to launch into kind of, well, let me hold questions. Let me do one more slide, and then I'm gonna stop for some questions. So, sorry for the density of this slide, but this is really the specifics of what our goals in our strategic plan. We wanted to grow our undergraduate program to 1,000 people per class. We made that this year. We also want to increase the ranking to top 25. So this is the only program that we were actually asking for growth to happen and increase in quality to happen. Those are hard to do at the same time. But as you can see, we've hit the student growth numbers. We now need to increase the quality. And what this will mean is basically increasing the size of our business scholars programs. And what we want to do is keep the regular business scholars program at 500 students, and our global business scholars, this is the students that want a significantly global experience, to 200. You can see 2 years of data here. Pre-COVID, we were at 490 when we set our goals to 500 and 200. And you'll see that last year we actually went down to 468. This was a very significant impact of COVID on us. So you'll notice we actually grew our incoming class to over 1,000, to where we wanted to be, but the business scholars didn't increase. And essentially what happened, because the business scholars is such an in-person experience, we literally had about 100 to 150 students that at the last minute opted to come to the university, but not pay the extra dollars for business scholars. So I think we're somewhat optimistic that this next year, the numbers are looking very, very strong, actually stronger than last year and the year before. We're optimistic that we will be able to hit some of those numbers, but we're going to do it slowly and purposely so that we can actually hit the quality numbers that we want. David, I'm going to speak a minute to your question. Thank you for putting that in the chat. So now let's talk about our full-time MBA. Here we have not grown that program, but we focused exclusively on quality. This is by far the most difficult space to compete in. There are many MBA programs. Many MBA programs, or day MBA programs in particular, are shutting down. We've put major investments here into scholarships to try to draw in great students, and we've seen a pretty huge move in the ranking. We will tell you now that we need to make another massive investment. It's not a several $100,000 investment. It's kind of in the millions of dollars investment. And we've got to put together a plan here to get that moving even more up the quality rankings. Then finally, we wanted to use centers to enhance and differentiate the student experience. I cannot emphasize enough how remarkable it has been to have the centers within our school. David asked, how much student touch capacity do our institutes collectively have? We think that is now in the thousands, to be quite honest. And that's why we have launched an additional center, the Center for Business Health and Prosperity, which was launched on February 5th. I hope a lot of you got a chance to see that launch. But this will actually give us, we think, an incredible entree into some international experiences, but also into how we can use business principles of entrepreneurship in more of an economic development capacity. We're extremely excited about this. Let me give you just a few highlights though. The Mariner Eccles Institute directly supports our QAMO major. This is our quantitative analysis of markets and organizations major. They have the highest starting salaries this year, at over 65,000, which has been pretty remarkable. The school average in the past has been about 54. Katie Abbey, correct me in the chat if I'm wrong, but it is trending fast towards 60 because of institutes like the Mariner S. Eccles Institute. The Lassonde Entrepreneur Institute. We're going to talk about this a lot today, so I don't want to belabor it, but it supports our entrepreneurship major. The Master of Business Creation program was launched today. It has created, that program in and of itself has created a unique opportunity that we did not see 2 years ago. And we're going to talk about that opportunity today. The Goff Strategic Leadership Center is going to be expanding leadership programs in all of our curriculum. If you look at Sorensen Impact, we got a new director or a CEO this year. He has been remarkable in the way he has expanded the number of students that institute can touch. It can now touch 75 per semester, so 150 per year in very deep ways, and it probably touches another several hundred in more indirect ways. What is important, really impressive about both Sorensen Impact and the Business Health and Prosperity Center is we will see future growth plans for both of those that I think will be impressive. Hopefully we'll have some of those things ready for our next meeting. But they are now engaged in degree creation, so new majors. And I think, so you'll see some very creative things coming there. Kem C. Gardner Policy Institute, they are doing remarkable things with students and internships. I'd like to thank, I know Clark Ivory is on today, but Clark does some things for, it's called Ivory Experiences at the Kem C. Gardner Policy Institute. These are remarkable things. These are remarkable experiences that actually allow students very early on to get some internship help. If we look at the Ivory Boyer Real Estate Center, it supports our MRED degree. It is actually doing a lot in housing technology to affect affordable housing. It's probably one of our most innovative programs right now called Ivory Innovations. And they are actually becoming a feeder through housing technology startups to our Master of Creation, Business Creation program. And then finally, many of you are involved in the Collard Initiative on Technology. Mark Sunday, I'd like to say thanks for your work there, as well as Kurt Doman and Heather, thank you. I know Heather's on today. It is the initiative that she has funded, but we have got some very, very exciting things going on there. It's been remarkable. One final just story on the Collard Initiative on Technology. Kimberly Johnston, who's on, brought some blockchain expertise to the school, international experts, people that have started blockchain exchanges, and they are actually teaching our students blockchain from the freshman year. It's seriously one of the most remarkable things I think we've seen in terms of just curricular development in the last year. So many, many thanks to that. All right, next slide. I'm going to stop for a moment before I talk about our refresh plan, and I'd love to take questions. Brent asks, where are we intending to invest the additional millions to raise our MBA ranking? That's going to be a to be determined. In fact, that will be the topic of our fall meeting. But I can give you some hints. We may need to increase the size of our MBA class. And we certainly need to put some investments into some differentiation. So does anybody have any questions at this point?
Taylor, can I just add to the full-time MBA
Yeah.
comment? Kind of the number one thing with full-time MBAs is jobs. And so it's kind of what kind of jobs can we create? And that comes with scholarships, getting the students in, curriculum, kind of designing some of the new courses. We got a new product management course that's really helping, but having some of the curriculum, the faculty and the staff behind it, but it's kind of a broad-based, how can we really help them with their careers and career development?
Thanks, Brad. Brad has been the person that's been running our program. Any other questions?
A quick question on scholarships. So clearly scholarship need for the undergraduate program, but also KID and other of these centers are seeking scholarship funding. So I wanted to see your perspective on a holistic approach on a campaign, or is it really going to be targeted to the centers? Just thinking about competing for dollars and scholarships and how to get more aligned.
Yeah, that is a great question. And Kimberly, we had actually debated having that as a topic today. We actually have started a much more holistic scholarship giving program. Let me just give you some high level numbers. Today, we keep track of scholarships in kind of 3 different buckets. So today we give out roughly $14 million in scholarships across all programs. And that is typically what we call in-state tuition dollars. Those are 14 million in scholarships given out by the school. Those come from both centers and the central, call it the central school itself, the DESB. Our scholarship program is in that we've allowed students to stack, right? So if you're doing something in Lassonde, you can stack it with a school scholarship. What we have found in our analysis is that we're probably not optimizing. And so part of our fall plan, when we unveil major changes to the undergraduate program, will also be to explain to you the campaign for scholarships and how that works. But it will be more holistic. But what it will do is we'll probably make asks for scholarships via the various initiatives. And think of it as this: as a student comes in their first year, they will be guaranteed a scholarship. As they choose to opt into different centers, institutes, and initiatives, then the funding will come from there to cover their scholarships. So there'll kind of be a transition that's much more optimized and coordinated. So that's what we've got so far. That's a great question.
Thank you.
Let me finish the top level numbers. 14 million in base scholarships coming out of the school, another 4 million that go to bring in out-of-state students. So that's 18 million. And then we pay for another 3.5 million that come from the central administration based on honors at entrance. So in total, the school is giving out $21.5 million in scholarships. When we started this privatization, we were literally at about 1.5 million scholarships. I'm looking at Katie Amundsen. I think that's about where we were. So we have increased dramatically. To be honest, the target's probably another 10 million to get to where we need to be. So that's kind of where we are now. Okay, so other questions? All right. So here's where we're going with our refresh. This fall, we're going to bring to you a refresh of the undergraduate program. It will actually have a redesign of the Business Scholars Program in it. We will have finished a complete overhaul of our curriculum. That's been going on the last 2 years, our core curriculum. It will also have some job placement improvement elements to it. And along with those job placement elements, there'll be some redesign of our majors. Some of you, and I know some of you involved in FinTech, Kurt, I know you're on, we've been involved looking at some FinTech opportunities. And so, you know, that's kind of the flavor of what you're going to see. We'll also be bringing to you a plan to improve the day MBA ranking. And all these plans are moving right now. They're just not ready for prime time. And I think we'll be a little more ready to get them launched in the recruiting cycle for next fall. What I want to talk to you about today are the two other elements of our strategy. One is the use of centers to establish a global reputation. We have stumbled upon what I would say is the closest thing to lightning in a bottle I have seen since I've been here with the Master of Business Creation. We're going to be aggressive here. We're going to be world changing. We're going to be very aspirational. And we want your feedback on this. We do think that we can own this space on a global scale. And I want to explain to you why in just a second. To do 1, 2, and 3, we've got to reconfigure the way we grow. As you all know, capital to make these things happen come from two sources: donations, and they come from my own internal growth. I don't have the ability to bond or go to external markets to fund these things, unfortunately. So I've got to reconfigure a growth engine here that actually spins off extra cash that allows me to fund the improvements in 1, 2, and 3. And as I mentioned, they're not linear to make the improvements. They are more exponential in what we're thinking about, right? So to move an MBA program from the 60s to the 30s, for example, took $1.5 million investment in scholarships. It's going to take $3 to $5 million to move it another 10 spaces. And so that's the kind of thing where, I think we're having to contemplate. So I'm going to shift. We're going to talk now about this Master of Business Creation program. Let's get going on that. Are there any questions before I get started?
Yeah, Taylor, I just have one, please. By the way,
Yeah.
congratulations on all the increased metrics and how well you're doing. And every once in a while, you got to stop and spike the ball and have a bit of a celebration. But I want to congratulate you for also saying, let's refresh. We have to reboot and we have to change. And, if I remember right, there's 1,200 MBA programs, and you have kind of basic table stakes that they all have the same. It's all these centers and institutes, I think, which are really raising the game. Would it be part of the strategy to make all of this business scholar students, or most of the students, be assigned or have to choose to be in one of those programs? So that, is that something that you can take that step? Because if that's going to increase their job likelihood, they're a higher percentage of pay, and to do better in their careers, why aren't we saying to be in this program means you got to be in one of these? I think it was 8 or 9, institutes and centers.
Yeah, you're tipping our hand.
Oh, okay.
Thank you. One of the things you'll see is the redesign of Business Scholars, which is our freshman admit, is actually to get them involved in those centers and institutes as business scholars. And so to get them involved in choosing and being part of them from day one. And so that will be a major part of that refresh. Yeah.
Because, the students that we hire from all over the country, those that come from, that are group joiners, however you define that, they do better in the work environment. And I think these not only give them exposure, but it gives them the ability to work in teams and work with others so that they're better employees afterwards. Thanks, Taylor.
Yeah, thanks for the comment. That's
Taylor, can I add one thing to the full-time
Yeah.
MBA ranking?
Yeah.
I think I get a lot of questions about why is it important? Why does a business school want to invest? And I'll go back to a discussion I had with David Cummings many years ago when he was in our executive MBA program, and he was on a flight one day, and he came into class and came up to me and he said, "Look, I've got a magazine that was in the back of the airplane, back of the seat." And he looked at the top 50 business schools, and the University of Utah wasn't listed. And upon further evaluation, what David and I determined was this publication had ranked our business school based on our full-time MBA ranking. And David's comment was, your executive MBA is top 25, your other programs are top 50. Why do they use the full-time MBA? And I really don't have an answer for that, but I do know that sometimes that full-time MBA gets put out there as our ranking of our business school quality. And that's why it's important to our undergraduates, important to all our graduate programs and everything we do in all our centers and everything else, is that once you're on that list, then students start looking and faculty start looking at your business school. So I think that's a little bit about why it's important. And the balance is how much do we invest? And that's the strategic decision we need to come up with.
Thanks. Any other comments? I need to learn to give more pause here to let you ask questions in the Zoom format. It's harder to read faces.
Yeah, Tanner, this is, I would just reinforce what Brad just said. I mean, try as we might to move off into other areas where we think we can own the strategic space and clearly have clear competitive advantage. You know, if our full-time MBA program is not a shining star, we will suffer. It's the way it is. It's kind of the rules of the game. And I'm glad to see that we're looking at reinvesting and trying to get it where it needs to be. If we're going to be top 25, our daytime MBA program must be in that top 25.
Agreed. And I think the next goal is to make sure it's consistently below, in the low 30s to top 25. And we'll see, you'll see some data that suggests the resources necessary are we need to increase them. I appreciate that perspective. So let me tell you a little bit about why this is probably the one single major deviation from the strategic plan, this investment in what I would call the investment in the Masters of Business Creation program. And let me tell you why. I've got several faculty on the call today. I know Taft Price, who teaches in it. You're going to hear from Paul or Troy D'Ambrosio, who's been leading this charge, and Paul Brown, who's in it. I'd love for them to jump in here. But we won an award a year ago, an international award for innovation in curriculum for this program. It was recognized before we even had our first opening class for being something completely unique in the world of business education. I mean, these faculty have destroyed what I call the tyranny of the classroom, and they've brought learning by doing to life. As one faculty member came to me after the first week and he said, when I teach an undergraduate, they come back 20 years from now and thank me for the knowledge I gave them. When I talk to an MBA, they come back 5 years and thank me. When I come back with an MBC student, they come in the next day and say, that didn't quite work. Can we try that again? I mean, this is really just learning by doing. And it also just speaks to the student demand right now to kind of own their own careers, to chart their own future. And then if you just start listing the assets we have at this business school and this university, it's just remarkable what we have. If you start adding up the cumulative endowment of each of these programs and what they will add, right? So the Lassonde Entrepreneur Institute is obvious. We have a Department of Entrepreneurship and Strategy. Most departments don't have that. We've got this Master of Business Creation degree. If you look at the Sorensen Impact Center and our ability to fund these companies via impact investments and the learning that we have there, and our University Venture Fund, it's just an incredible ecosystem. We look at the Collard Initiative in Technology and see students that in their freshman year learn how to code. It completely changes the nature of jobs or of businesses they want to create. If you look at the entrepreneurial leadership skills that the Goff Strategic Leadership Center has put in, there's a leadership curriculum that talks about how HR is different in startup companies. You look at something like Ivory Innovations and the unearthing of housing technology entrepreneurs to deal with a deep social problem that can come into this. And then we're going to see the exact same thing from the Center for Business and Health and Prosperity. We see around this degree an ability to completely change the educational landscape. And Troy, I think Troy coined this, but I'm going to take complete credit. He says, Harvard started the MBA in 1917. We're going to say the Eccles School started the MBC in 2019. And we think we can just really do something unique and different here. So to your point, Paul Beck may have been hinting at this. One of the questions we got to ask, is this deviate too much from the core? I don't think it does. I think we've got the assets to do it. And I think this is, this is an area we can really, really succeed. So I'm going to turn the time over here to Troy in just a second. Our big objective here is that we're going to be #1 in entrepreneurship, innovation, impact. This is much more aspirational than top 25. One of the puzzles that we have to solve is that this degree has so many potential options. It's already a full-time graduate degree. It could expand into an undergraduate format. It could be a part-time, we call it flex time format. It could have industry cohorts in fintech, in economic development, in impact investing, in legal technology, in housing tech, right? It's an economic development tool at home and abroad. We could partner with engineering schools that don't have affiliations with business schools. We could simply partner with other universities to create a network of MBC programs. The trick here is, in the face of these many options, how can we explore some of them in a smart way to try to understand the branding, how we need to control the degree or not control the degree, and how can we do it in a smart way to take that one step forward? So while we have big ambitions, the plan that you're going to hear is not one of, we're going to conquer the world at once. We're going to be taking a couple regulated steps. Brenda asked, are we aware of any competing schools offering precise MBC programs? I think the basic answer to that is no. There may be a couple other schools that have Masters of Entrepreneurship. There are a lot of schools that have incubators, but do not couple it with a degree. And there are some big advantages to coupling it with a degree, and I'll let Troy and the faculty speak to that in a second. So I'm going to turn the time over to Troy D'Ambrosio. And Troy, why don't you take it away?
Great. Hey, thanks, Taylor, and Ann. Thanks for inviting us to speak before the board, and want to thank all the board again for having us and letting us tell you what we're doing. And want to give a big thanks to Pierre Lasson, who continues to push us to try and do new and innovative things in the program. And Jack Britton, who has really been the person that's kind of put the meat on the bones of the idea around this. And got my colleagues, Paul Brown and Taft Price, here today as well. So Chris, if you'll step to the next slide. So, this is kind of questions we have for the board that we're going to have you ask as we go through this. And today you're going to have the opportunity to actually have a breakout session with some of the great founders that we have in the program this year who are working on their businesses. You'll get a chance to speak with them and hear what they're doing and get their input. So think about these as you're talking with them and how we think about expanding this program. So Chris, so our expansion program, this is our Master of Business Creation degree. We've trademarked that, and your question, Brent, anybody who wants to use this title has to come to and license it from us. So we've actually got the trademark on Master of Business Creation degree. So what we're looking at right now is we've got a full-time cohort that comes in the fall. They spend 9 months with us. They're focused on their business as the case study around the degree. Some classwork, but a lot of it's focused on taking what they learn in the class and applying to their individual businesses. And so what we want to do is see if we can expand this and identify a couple of partnership programs where we can build the MBC reputation and expand it to other universities, as Taylor's mentioned. And so what we're going to do is bring a group of founders to the MBC program for a 1-month intensive session with us in the fall that'll be co-taught with the current full-time program. And they'll focus in this first month on kind of getting the basic underlying elements of the MBC program understood. And then they'll go back to their home locale and do the rest of the program in a remote program in their hometown, home location, home country, with a local mentor that will provide them, that will coach up and have part of our program that will help them translate what's going on in the classroom into the practical application towards their business. And we think that's the real kind of breakthrough is teaching some very great fundamentals around entrepreneurship that every entrepreneur needs to know, but then taking that and having a coach mentor that can help you translate that to your business specifically. So we're looking at this right now, and we've got a couple of partnerships that we're in negotiation with, and we want to talk about one specifically today. So Chris, so here we're going to go for announcement, and Stein, Tora, do you want to jump in here? So
thanks, Troy, and I also wanted to thank you, Taylor, for really helpful and creative and forward-leading discussions in the last few months to put this in place. And let me just share a few comments on what Generation Africa is. This is a program that was started about 2 years ago as a response to a need to create jobs in Africa. At that time, there was a need to create about 12 to 15 million new jobs for young Africans entering the workforce, while the current or the rate at the time was a fraction of that. And I had discussions for a number of years with Strive Masiyiwa on how do we create job opportunities and in which sector, and then agriculture has a lot of advantages, both because of land availability and the opportunity to develop agriculture in Africa, but also because of the impact. Growth in GDP in sub-Saharan Africa is, I think, 10 or 12 times as effective in fighting poverty than growth in any other industry. So the opportunity is there, but agriculture is also seen as something old-fashioned and hard labor, and we needed to change that, and we can only do that by bringing young people into agriculture. So I talked with Strive Masiyiwa, and I said, well, if we're going to do this, we need to have role models. And Strive Masiyiwa he's a self-made billionaire coming originally out of Zambia. He founded Econet in the telecom industry. Today he's still owner of that, or at least part owner of that. He's on the board of Unilever, National Geographic Society, the Rockefeller Foundation, and Netflix, to name some. So I think it's important that we have this strong local anchoring of local role models, and he is one of those. He's also the business person in the world with the most active following on social media, so that creates attention and enthusiasm. And then I also have Agnes Kalibata as a co-founder. She's the former Minister of Agriculture in Rwanda. Today she's the special envoy of the UN Secretary General to the Food Systems Summit. So a strong local anchoring of this to create job growth, and that has only become more meaningful in the last year. In Yara, we're operating in about 150 countries, and no region is harder hit from COVID-19 than Africa. So it's moving in the wrong direction, and we really need to step up our efforts to support. And entrepreneurship is key to drive that. So we need to accelerate this, and one of them. So the missing pieces would be to add an academic level or an academic opportunity linked to this. And if we could combine this platform with all the strengths of the University of Utah, there are some tremendous opportunities in this. And through the discussion with Troy and Taylor, we come up with some ideas on how we could create that link. And I think this will be very impactful. We'll start with a pilot, start small, prove the concept, and then it can be scaled significantly. But I do believe there will be strong power coming out of this, and where we can prove it in real life. And we've seen that there's great focus on it, and a lot of attention, a lot of young African entrepreneurs that want to make a difference. So here we can do two things at the same time, helping to accelerate businesses and have an impact on both fighting poverty, but also on food security. So really look forward to how we can scale this and also discuss with all of you on the board on how can we get even more attention to this and accelerate it once we have this proven. Thank you.
Tain Tora, thank you very much for that incredible sponsorship. This will be kind of experiment number one, and there'll be there are two or three more in the pipeline that we are hoping to announce in the next month or two. Anyway, so the way this works is they'll send a team for that first month. They'll get some basic instruction. We'll try to nail some of the initial financial projections on their business plans and hone the idea, and then they'll go back and via internet and also local mentors will execute the rest of this degree. So that's kind of the nature of this platform. Troy, back to you.
Yeah, I think that's it, Taylor. Again, as we always follow PR's lead, and when you don't know what you're doing, start small and experiment with it. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to try a couple of partnerships. We're excited about this, and then we'll be announcing some, as you mentioned, a couple other partnerships. Here's this year's cohort of founders in the MBC program, our second year. You're going to get to meet with some of these founders in a breakout room here shortly that Chris is going to manage. And then we'll gather back up and get your feedback of having discussed with these individual founders and their companies, and then thoughts about how we expand this program. So Chris and Taylor, I'll let you take it from here to the breakout rooms.
Yeah, so we're gonna give you 25 minutes in a breakout room with founders. Remember our questions. We want you to hear the speed pitch and see the enthusiasm from these students. And then we'll come back and I've asked each of the facilitators of these breakouts to give a quick 1 to 2 sentence summary of what your groups thought. I would very much appreciate emails to both Troy and I. We'll put our email addresses on further feedback. Usually in a live meeting, we can get, detailed discussion, but would love to have a set of comments from each of you. If you could please kind of send us emails if your views don't get expressed in the summaries. So we'll go to breakout rooms now.
Chris, Tiff, and I'm going to be our facilitator. Oh, and Chris Bosman is on, because what I was wondering is about how many people we were going to have in our breakout, so we could get you going as quickly as possible.
Perfect. Well, I'm going to pop out. I think we're in room 8. I'm going to pop out and see if someone can give me access to share my screen. I'll be right back.
The host, Chris Bosman, can probably do that.
Oh, okay.
Chris, are you the host? Whoever a host is online can free that up for everybody, so you can.
I know it's appeared to be that we've been sharing Chris's screen the whole time. So Brad, I'm with you. It feels like she's probably released it.
Chris is on mute, Brad.
Yeah, I know. I think she might not be there in front of her phone, so I'll try to call her.
Well, and I mean, worst case scenario, I can just share. I don't need the deck. It just helps kind of, with understanding of my idea. But if you guys want, if this is everyone, we can just get started too.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, well, my name is Tiff Palmatier, and oh wait, Chris is coming back. She said yes, 1 second. Okay, I'll just wait. But I guess I can start with an intro. So my name is Tiff Palmatier. I am in the obviously second cohort of the MBC program. And I've been in Utah. I moved to Utah about 7 years ago now from upstate New York. I've lived all around. I had a lot of my life was climbing the corporate ladder. And so I've done a lot of fun things at kind of enterprise levels. I work for AT&T. Some of you guys probably have heard of Spring Mobile. Spring Mobile was, well, once upon a time, it was the largest AT&T authorized retailer. And so I was chief of staff for that company. And we saw some really great growth. We went from 175 locations to 2,000 by the time we sold that business. And so it's funny, you'll kind of see probably from my brief presentation that I tend to think at more of an enterprise scale, which again is a good thing sometimes in the past. Right? We can launch rockets to the moon and Mars, and yet we can't figure out how to get someone's car home with them after a night of drinking.
Terrific.
Very informative.
Taylor, ours was incredible. Clark Ivory giving advice to an aspiring home builder.
That's good.
I kind of picked a few of those, Al, to target those. So.
Yeah, the whole thing. Matt Iring was there talking about solar and Kirk Doman about finance. I'm thinking, wow. Sean wanted to talk about connectivity. We didn't give her much of a chance.
Hey, we had Paul giving advice on skincare and beauty products, which you might not think is obvious, but clearly with the number of brands that he's been involved with, it was great.
We had a really interesting discussion. I mean, these are budding entrepreneurs without question, and it's interesting. They don't know what they don't know, and that's probably a good thing.
Well, yeah. So I know I've got leaders. We're gonna get you out of here by 11, folks. So I want to go around quickly just to hear comments from the discussion leaders, and then anybody else. Please send me emails and Troy emails on what you think of this program and what we should do with it. Couple things. We are going to need mentors in the expansion. It is a very involved process, we've found. So this isn't a yeah, sure, I'll mentor and call somebody. It's a little more structured process. But those of you on the board that would like to at least explore whether you want to be a mentor or not, I'm going to probably have Taft Price or Paul Brown reach out to you. If you would, again, send us emails if you'd like to spend some time doing that.
Taylor, may I ask a question? This is Keith McMullen.
Yeah.
Are you also looking to us to give you any thoughts regarding the objectives of the MBA program's positioning in the top 25 as a consequence of what we have heard?
Yes, in fact, you're jumping to my last my last slide of the whole show today.
Oh.
We are going to reach out to a number of you and would like you to help us in this repositioning of both the undergraduate and the MBA.
Mhm.
So we will be taking would love to get some names and volunteers. That will be Zoom meetings over the next 2 to 3 months. So would love that feedback if you have it now, or willingness to participate on a call.
Tanner, I just had one quick thought. Maybe this is a question for Brad and for Troy, but since we now own the NBC and we know we need to prop up our MBA, I think we would make a mistake if we bypass the opportunity to look at some co-branding there.
Yeah, there are some hairy, tricky things.
Oh yeah, there always are.
If you want to navigate a ranking with entrepreneurship, but that needs to be front and center, because as it turns out, job placement and starting salaries drive MBA rankings, and sometimes entrepreneurs don't have salaries for a while. So anyway, there's some tricky stuff to navigate there if we want to play in both games. But it's a strategic question. I think we all want to wrestle with it. It's actually the reason we did not implement the MBC in the MBA program.
Oh, I completely understand it, but it's unique. As powerful as the MBC can be, it would be nice if it could also help. A rising tide lifts all ships. It'd be great to see a little shoot to the MBA program in terms of dragging it up. Maybe it's just one element of your branding strategy, but I think it's a big mistake if we walk right by it.
Fair point. So those of you that are leading discussions, if we could take 5 minutes, love to hear what the feedback was from your sessions.
So what do we do? If 3 out of 4 is the one.
Chris, do you want to tell me who was first?
They can go and have higher.
Al Landon.
Al Landon, lucky me. We just had a great conversation. Our guy, Adam Stewart, is trying to build alternative or attached residential units in housing in California. Got a huge market. He says that the MBC has changed his life. And he came at it from ideas, from mentorship, and from financing. I was impressed. He talked about the efficiency of the program, how much money he would have wasted if he didn't have the advice that he had. He said the program fits his needs perfectly because of the mentorship that has been offered to him. His advice on expansion is, okay, don't dilute, right? That was my comment. Don't dilute. Keep the one-on-one mentors. The quality of that mentorship is everything about the program from his perspective. And so the expansion has to keep its personal focus, Taylor, is what I think I took away. Anybody else from our team want to add to that?
I think you hit it, Al. I think that was one of the concerns kind of I had. I was thinking through that you already mentioned, Taylor, which is how do you keep that mentorship going? How do you keep quality one-on-one interactions, which is what he kept reiterating was the most important things in the program for him.
Yeah. In our model, we contemplate actually paying mentors, not asking for volunteers. So that's one element. Does it scale as well as volunteers? No, but it does maintain, demand some quality. Let's see. Thank you. Nicole.
All right. We had the opportunity to speak with Malia Robinson, who has a company that's a sanitization service inspired by, obviously very timely with COVID right now, and inspired by her wanting to keep her grandmother safe. This is a sanitization service that provides, it's an actual service providing with a fogging application, commercial and residential. She's looking at property management facilities and other organizations. She said the Master of Business Creation program absolutely was key for her. It sounds like her relationship with Jack Britton in particular has been incredible, but the actual quality of the teaching that she had, in particular, where she was an undergraduate marketing major, she didn't have a lot of financial background before. So just figuring out TAF price, she mentioned specifically with the financial workbook, helping her figuring out funding and cash flow. But just from the very beginning, just the whole program helped her create the business model, things that she had no real world experience in, you know, how to create a trademark or how to get a trademark, how to get an EIN number. Just the very basics and the fundamentals were key for her. She had real world problems along the way that were helped, everything from, you know, how to do a proposal and sales marketing and the ability to pitch her product and her dream in front of everybody else. And the collaborative experience was super important for her, helping her think through business decisions like, did she want to hire independent contractors? Did she want full-time employees? All of those decisions were guided by her through the process, by her mentor, and just through the process in general. She said the guest speakers were excellent. The only thing that she would add in terms of any expansion opportunities is to create networking events. So perhaps being able to collaborate with the other institutes. I think she was on at the beginning of the call where she heard about the other institutes. She said that would create a waterfall effect and kind of help on the networking side with more lead generation and more ideas and things like that. So that was her only, you know, idea for improvement, but sounds like the program has been a life changer for her as well. And she's grateful. And she had a lot of positive things to say about it. And I'll turn it over to anybody on our team to see if they have follow-up. Barbara or Greg or Keith?
Oh, you covered great. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Steve Harris.
Yeah, we had, thanks, Taylor. Yeah, we had Haley Zimmerman from Haven Rest, who's developing a portable bed and for refugees and also families that travel. So she's got kind of two markets that she's looking at. And for Haley, her experience with the MBC program was just critical to both thinking about her product. She came from an industrial design background and had really no business experience. And so one of the things she mentioned was just, you know, she didn't realize exactly how much the MBC program would help her, both from, you know, things have been mentioned like the financial workbook, marketing, all the aspects. And she really saw value in all of it. When we asked her what was the greatest thing that brought value to the program, she said both classes, mentors, her peer cohort were all really critical to that. Just in the interest of time, a couple of things she mentioned in terms of it would be beneficial to or adding to the program is we talked about sort of maybe a customizable boot camp for students that don't have a business background in the summer before the program starts, where they could focus on areas where they need to build and develop. So whether it's you know, spreadsheet modeling or you know, she also mentioned if she would have been able to look at her product a little more feasibly and get manufacturing things in the pipeline earlier, then she could take advantage of this program a little more strongly. So those are a couple of things she mentioned about adding. And then in terms of growth and scaling the program, we asked about that and expansion of the MBC program. Her biggest thing was, you know, keeping the peer cohorts to a manageable size. So I think you can build and have the quality in the program, but keeping that cohort, you know, at a reasonable size where they can interact and then also interact with the other cohorts was key to her. So anything else, David, Clay, or Danny, that you wanted to mention?
I think you covered it. Thank you.
Okay.
You did a great job.
Thanks.
Thanks. Mark, Sunday.
I had the opportunity with my colleagues to speak to some gentlemen that are starting Hello GM. What this company does is takes the variety of property management systems from hotel chains, relatively small hotels, and those individuals who then or organizations that own multiple of ones, incredibly manual process of collecting data from each of their properties because these property management systems are so antiquated. What they do is they integrate with the majority of the ones that are used, whether it's from the Marriott, Hilton, IMJ, others that pull it together, and they're able to take it and now provide big company analytics to these relatively small the individuals or organizations that own these hotel properties. And so it's really great because these property management systems are so antiquated, they can provide big company kind of capabilities and now allowing them to analyze across a wide variety of metrics relative to optimizing their businesses. So, I can really see how they can have a big impact. One thing that was great to see is how focused they are. They can take data from a wide variety of hotels and very, very focused on delivering real value to the owners of these multiple hotel properties. Oh, by the way, relative to the program, I heard the best news you could possibly ask. The very first thing I did is, what can we make the program better? And that's make it longer. Have that long tail. We want to stay connected. We want to continue this mentorship. We want to continue the learnings. So, I looked at that as the most positive thing you could imagine. But when I asked them, what did they get out of it? It's the exact same thing I'm running into from a wide variety of entrepreneurs I'm now dealing with. They got a great idea for a product. They know what they want to do, but they need help with finance and modeling. Like, for example, the program was key to these folks being able to scale their business. Just understanding things like cap table. What is a sales process? What do we do if we want to hire somebody to do marketing for us? We don't even know what questions to ask. And, just basics like managerial accounting. So it's just like I've seen with the number of entrepreneurs I'm working with. They've got a great idea for a product, might be, great technologists, but they really don't know how to turn a product into a business. And the MBC program is absolutely ideal for individuals like that. But one big thing that came out of it, how do we create this long tail? How do we continue to have that mentorship as we continue to grow our company over the first few years?
Thanks. Jonathan. Is Jonathan still on, Campbell?
Still on.
Okay.
Okay, so we met with Cody Kendall, who has started it's a software focused on, let me pull up his description a little bit so I get it right. It's basically, he describes it as a CRM for home service companies, typically sole proprietors, 1 or 2 person companies to track their customer info, scheduling, tracking appointments, job info. A lot of the stuff that is very manual, they're trying to do while they're on the job. He said, they're crawling through an attic and getting a phone call, things like that. And so they're trying to help simplify that process and tie that into dispatching, customer communication, things like that. And it's definitely an area of need. A couple of things that he said is the guidance of the mentors has been huge. Just in terms of steering him in the right direction. He gave a description of a board meeting where, his mentors told him, look, you've got to start generating revenue. And, that really kind of gave him the jolt that he needed to start doing that and taking the actions to do that. The help with hiring decisions from the board has been good, just guiding him through that. And then the professors helping him focus in on a value proposition has been really helpful. He talked about that a couple times, of really helping or trying to get that value proposition right, which is key. In terms of expansion, his comments are very similar to the others that don't dilute, that if you do expand, you would need to add staff to keep the value. And one of the areas that we talked about was maybe at some point the MBC goes to a place where you have different cohorts for different types of businesses. So if you have a SaaS group, you have an industrials group, or people who are working on the same types of businesses as others that they can work with, and make it a little more applicable. That being said, he did say that one of the best values versus what he perceived he would get in a standard degree is that the case studies, the work that he does is specific to his business, and it's very applicable. And so being able to apply it directly to what he's doing on a day-to-day basis is really, really valuable to him. So we talked a little bit on funding and having funding mechanisms in place, or the ability to raise funds is big and valuable. I think that could definitely be a differentiator with the NBC. And the other is the value of the mentors. And I think that's something that, you know, is worth looking at how we could expand that. And I don't know if it's necessarily everyone does the full mentorship, or that if there are some that are just, you know, a 1 hour phone call here or there. And, you know, I'm invested in a business that's very, very similar to his. We're 5 years ahead, but we've gone through a lot of the pitfalls. And I imagine that there are a lot of people here who can see a lot of the pitfalls that some of these entrepreneurs could run into. So I think there's an opportunity to leverage our network in a couple different ways to help them. But overall, very positive, and, you know, really enjoys it and sees a lot of value in it.
Thanks, Jonathan. Paul.
It's actually me rather than Paul.
Okay. And by the way, we're going to cut our last topic, Ann. I was trying to reach you via text. So
okay,
we're going to let everybody report out, and then we'll be done. All right. Thanks.
That's what happens when I turn my phone down. So we had the opportunity really with a great group conversation with an impressive entrepreneur, Yasmin Khan, who's the CEO of Calm Skincare, KHALM. It's a high-end, very high-end product or product line. I won't say too much. She had a lot of great comments about the value of the program, but one was that, you know, in terms of obstacles, she saw the cost of the program as being an obstacle when it was being pitched to her. But she currently sees, and actually was sold by Jack, that the cost would be minimal compared to the ability to have real great longevity of business. And so, and she already believes that's paid off and is true. In terms of expansion, I won't repeat the other areas, but in particular, one different or additional comment that was made in our group was that if there's expansion, it needs to expand the diversity of mentors, professors and mentors. That's already a challenge, apparently. And so if that's already a challenge, you know, how's that even going to be not a greater obstacle going forward when we know that particularly locally, there is less opportunity to find, you know, women, people of color in these kinds of roles. So that would be a good item to highlight.
It's a great point. Thank you. We are certainly aware of that as well. Dave Doherty.
We had a great discussion with Matt and Sam Norton, the company's SlideKick, which is a pretty neat technology that turns slide presentations into interactive experiences for their audiences. And they actually demoed the product as we were talking with them. So it's a really pretty neat product. I have to agree with the comment. We got lightning in the bottle, and I think both of them, you know, gave high marks to the program, and they cited specifics on, you know, connections to mentors, which has already been discussed, and then also just the test and learn methodology. That's a, you know, kind of a hallmark of the program that they've really benefited from. In terms of where we could help more, we had good discussion really in a couple areas. One is, you know, helping these companies get better connections to customers that can pilot or test the product or service that they're offering. And then we had a discussion around also having the program do a better job of connections to angel-like investors, you know, beyond just the mentors, but whether it's through investor days or you know, any number of ways to try to help these folks, you know, be able to line up the angel investing they need down the road, or, you know, Series A funding, that we do a better job, you know, helping them connect to potential investors. So other team members, any ads?
The only thing I would add is I think they also mentioned the length of the program, David, about how they thought it could be a little bit longer as well, which was also mentioned earlier.
Right, good.
Thanks. Chris Leokopoulos.
Thank you. So Brad and Brent and Tom and I talked with Tiff Palmatier. She is starting a rideshare company called Two Ferry, and it's actually it's meant to address some of the current gaps and concerns with current ride sharing. And I would say, and similar to the things that I have been reading on the chats, really impressive pitch and presence. And I think as we grilled her a little, what became very evident is she knew the marketplace, she knew what her company addresses and the value that it adds to that marketplace and how it differentiates. So I think we all came away feeling pretty impressed with her. So for Troy and team, whatever you're doing to get these people in the program, it was impressive. It was an impressive experience for us. I think the things that she mentioned, similar to some of the others, the mentorship and cohort are probably at least one of the strongest things. Other things that are great about the current program, marketing and sales tactics, specifically around startups, as well as she mentioned, this is a program that gives you resources. It doesn't take them away from you. And as founders who are really bootstrapped to these businesses that they're trying to get off the ground, that's really impressive. When we talked about the potential for expansion, she reiterated, as long as you could keep the mentorship and cohort, at a manageable size, don't think expansion. So in essence, don't dilute. That was the message about that. Her opinion was keeping the focus on full-time dedication rather than diluting that at all and allowing the students to work and go focus, on a full-time job and do school part-time. It probably would not be as successful in getting these businesses actually off the ground. She made the comment that we're already in a place where 1 in 10 of us is speculated to make it, in essence, for these businesses. But she says, based on what we're receiving, all the tools that we're receiving, I wouldn't be surprised in the future to see 50% of us be successful in launching these businesses. She did say in terms of what you could add to help the businesses, there would be 2 things. Adding more fundamental, like operations perspective, just procedures, things that keep the business going, because she made the comment, it's 1 or 2 of us at the helm of these things. And if either of us ends up being taken out of the game for some reason, the whole business is definitely at risk at that point. The other thing she talked about was funding resources. So I think, David, you might have talked about funding and these founders feeling that they could use a lot more support in that. And I love the idea that was brought up earlier. She mentioned diversity in mentors, as well as just the educational experience in general as being important. The last thing I would say that she mentioned that was just interesting was this idea of, from a student perspective, if you don't have a spouse, for instance, that's supporting you and your households, that you're a little more at risk in being able to complete this program due to the fact that you do have to work full-time on your business, which again, she thinks is really important. But she brought that up, and I thought that was an interesting sort of side note to be thinking about in going forward. And Brad, Brent, Tom, anything else that was important?
No, thanks, Chris. That's a great job.
We just one quick thing. We explored with her the idea of using corporate sponsorship to raise the capital that's going to be needed to really grow the MBC program. Just because it's an entrepreneurial program doesn't mean that you might not attract the interest of large companies. I see how much funds my son at MIT gets in his graduate programs. I think that may be something we ought to think about, because not every entrepreneur wants to build the thing and then take it public and keep it themselves. There may be something in there for corporate sponsors. So.
Thank you. Our last group, Kimberly.
I'll keep it to hopefully 1 minute here. So we had the pleasure of meeting the CEO of Vibe Wellness, Megan, and we found that immediately out of the gate, we would all benefit from her product. So she's a seasoned physical therapist, and she is replacing the traditional ICE method with a medical device that would really accelerate knee recovery, ACL recovery, as well as being able to a little bit infuse some light mobility. So you're just not on the sofa with your leg propped up, giving orders to everyone around you. But anyways, it was a pleasure meeting you. She found really the MC incredible experience immediately as a seasoned therapist on an island with this idea. She launched, this was a launch pad. She was in it, found herself in a strong ecosystem of expertise, mentors, and then with and partnering with the Echo Business School to really give her those broader business plan, PowerPoint, Excel skills. She also mentioned it was a safeguard place where as entrepreneurs, they're very concerned about their idea maybe not being so protected. And she's definitely felt the confidence of the sensitivity around that. Her challenges that really lead into kind of expansion opportunities with MC were primarily around early stage product development. And so maybe accessing engineering firms, maybe even looking at strategic equity alliances where they can develop the product without really asking for seed funding. But clearly that was similar to other ones that shared access to capital was also front and center for her, and how she approaches that and all the various alternatives there. And then the last item she mentioned that would be very, very beneficial is this whole global cohort. And maybe it's a month-long incubator on a global level. And then there's not only the 1 month program, but how do you really foster long-term connectivity after such cohort, even with the existing cohort, just making sure that connectivity goes beyond the term. Any comments from my team or the team?
Hey, thank you very much for participating in this. It's given us some good insights. We want to take a poll. So I'm going to have Chris put up the poll. And while I'm talking, I wonder if our two faculty that are here, Paul and Taft, could comment on kind of your views of where this would think this would take it. Pat Taft, just real briefly, and then I've got one slide and we'll turn it back to Ann to end.
So, I'm kind of just hanging out at the business school, waiting for the next big thing to just take my attention full time. And over the last year, I've decided that the MBC can be this. What we do is unique. Having taught financial modeling to students who are learning it from an academic perspective versus students who are applying it to their own business is unbelievable. We do have lightning in a bottle here. And I think as everybody realizes, the better the opportunity is, the more deliberate and focused we really need to be with this program, because it is like nothing else out there. It's not an incubator. It's not an accelerator. There isn't another academic program like this. And if we don't screw it up, this is going to be something we can all be very proud of long term.
Do you present the results later?
Yeah, I'll just, this is Paul. I'll just add, I co-founded an accelerator in Chicago. I've managed a couple of venture funds. I've been doing angel investing for 20 years. And this is the most exciting thing I've seen at the Echo School, that we are really onto something here. This is, and I'm not given to effusive language, but this is very special. Very, very special. And I'm really happy to be doing it. It's incredibly meaningful. And, last year we're going to have several companies out of each of these cohorts that are probably $100 million companies. So, it's exciting.
Thanks. I want to put up one slide. We're going to switch gears. And I hate to be rushed here, but I just want to thank all of you for your participation today. We did not get to cover the growth topic. I could use some feedback on this. There are a set of hairy issues. This slide captures most of it. We need to grow to fund undergraduate, MBA, and MBC expansion. And to cut to the chase, we think the highest margin growth potentially is in some of the online delivery that we've discovered. There are a lot of issues here. I had Danny Wall on and Mark Parker and Brad Vierig. And Brad, I don't know if you can just comment quickly what you're seeing in the online MBA market. But what I'm going to ask of all of you, if any of you would like to help me on this, we're going to set up probably a 40-minute call next week, 45 minutes, and would like to have this discussion. That's completely voluntary. And sorry we didn't get to it today, but the number one thing we wanted to kind of get feedback on was this MBC program. So Brad, you just want to see what you're seeing in the online market. Danny, you might make a quick comment, and then Ann, we'll turn it over to you to close. And I will just at this point sign off and say thank you very, very, very much for all that you're doing with the Echo School. I've got a list of people here that are doing amazing things. Greg Kennedy, your podcast was amazing. Kimberly, thanks for the blockchain. You're going to see Nicole Muscondis on a cover story. Anne, you organize this. Mark, thanks and for your impact on the Collard initiative. Heather Collard, thanks for making that initiative possible. You know, Jim, Pierre, Clark, thanks for these centers that are doing great things for our students. So anyway, many, all of you, I could tell an individual story. So thank you very, very, very much. Brad?
Sure. You want me just to address the online MBA for just a minute?
Just quickly, what you think the opportunity is?
Oh, the opportunity is huge. We're up 30-40% fall. We doubled our enrollment with COVID. We've got a top 10 ranked online MBA program, and I think we've got a lot of room and a lot of capacity to grow that with faculty and support. We've got the facility, we've got the resources. We're ready to go. Very strong growth.
So, Taylor, you want me to wrap it up?
Yeah, let's do that. Sorry to Mark and Danny for not getting you in here, but thanks for coming, and we'll have a meeting next week. Anyway, go ahead.
So I appreciate Taylor, and I think everyone does. You didn't let the agenda get in the way of a good meeting. So I know it'll be great for anyone who can join in on that other topic, and we'll follow up on it later. We brought a little of Utah to everyone around the world. Hopefully we can bring more people to Utah in October on the 15th. Thank you for your engagement. We've seen increased involvement with our career opportunities to be speaking to the students. We'll have future of those, and we'll continue to give you some outreach opportunities. So thank you, everybody. It's really great to work with you. And Taylor, by the way, what I'll tell you we heard most in the group was we admire your ambition. We applaud it. We might not feel quite so optimistic if we were sitting in these current times, and we know other programs and other businesses may not have been, but we think you ought to just feel good and keep going.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Taylor, thanks, Ann.
Thanks.
Well,
thank you for letting me dominate the agenda today.
that was fine. We had a feeling that might happen. That's why we moved some things around, and we were ready for that. I mean, I think people liked it, right?
I think just the feedback from the breakouts, which by the way was definitely worth doing, was clearly, indicative of their engagement, and everyone in our group was very engaged. We could have gone on at least another 10 minutes there